Unspoken Issues.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's October. That's right. The 30th anniversary of the Black September event has to come to an end, and we are taking care of that right now. With me, of course, is Chris Armstrong. Chris, we are about to jump back on now. See what are the last 4 issues of the relaunch event for Black September, where Marvel acquired Malibu's Ultraverse, and the Ultraverse titles are attempting to make an impact here.
Keyword attempting.
That's right. We're going to start. We ended last time with Prime, which I think was our strongest entry of those 4 that we talked about. Yep. The other 3 were kind of mired in a lot of confusion, and granted, Prime still had some of that, but this round right now, I don't know if that's going to alleviate anything for us or not. Regardless, we ended on somewhat of a high note last time, but we've got to continue with these relaunch titles. And I guess the first one we're going to get into is Mantra, the Infinity issue.
Controversial Mantra reboot.
Yes. Mike W. Barr writing / the creator here. We got Dave Roberts on pencils, Jim Amash on inks, lettered by Clem Robbins, Shannon Blanchard on color design, and Jennifer Schellinger on computer color. You mentioned this is kind of controversial. What did you know about Mantra before the relaunch? Did you know much?
Mantra was one of the more unique Ultraverse titles that focused on a male warrior in an eternal battle. He was a soldier of this sorcerer. Like there were like these 2 sorcerers that were battling, Boneyard and Archimage, and Lucas was a Archimage soldier. And whenever Archimage's soldiers would die, they would get reincarnated into new bodies to continue the fight. He got reincarnated into this woman's body for the first time in Mantra number 1. So we had a male, basically immortal warrior in the body of this mother of 2 in the early 90s in California. So it was different for him, because he didn't want to be a woman, didn't have any experience in that world, and so it made for a pretty interesting concept for that book.
Yeah. Real kind of fish out of water scenario for sure for that character. I didn't know much about Mantra at all. I think I saw the covers of some of the comics, but I never read a story that centered around her. So I'm going into this definitely as a new reader, picking this thing brand new up off the shelf. What is this thing? So yeah, I had no idea what to expect.
By the time we get to this point, Lucas is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the character of Mantra, the body he took over was Eden Blake, who was the mother of the 2 kids. I believe the way that resolved was Lucas, I think he died. It's hard for me to remember. It's been a while since I read those. But either he died or he got reincarnated into a new body or whatever. But Eden got her body back. And she was basically Mantra before this relaunch.
Mm-hmm.
So that aspect of a male and a female body using magic, that was already over with when this kicks off.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, this is on shelves September 14th, 1995. So again, another early entry into the Black September line of Infinity issues. If you're ready, I'll get into the summary and then we'll get into our notes. All right. So the story begins really just, there's some craziness going on. There's a girl by the name of Lauren, which I don't think we find out her name until we start going through some of the flashbacks. There is a young blonde lady who now has the powers of Mantra, and she's thrust into this nightmarish confrontation. Green energy swirls around her as she faces Gus, a young boy twisted by the same energy into something cruel and unrecognizable. His sister Evie pleads for peace, but Gus, consumed by rage and newfound power, attacks without hesitation. Lauren is quickly overwhelmed, her fear and inexperience leaving her unprepared for what's unfolding. Watching from afar, the Mantra that we are most likely familiar with Eden Blake senses the danger. She knows Gus's transformation could be deadly and reflects grimly that even her magic can't undo what's already been set in motion. Now we get our flashback. To earlier events, we see a more ordinary world. Eden Blake living her double life as both mother and mystic. Her son Gus and daughter Evie reveal the strains of a fractured family, Gus bitter over his father's absence, Evie still trying to hold on to innocence. The emotional cracks in the household mirror something greater as reality itself begins to distort. The skies darken, energy flickers unnaturally, and the panels of their world fracture under the influence of the reality-warping creation wave. Amid this cosmic disturbance, Gus's rage erupts into a literal transformation. His body mutates, his eyes glow green, and his power manifests in destructive bursts, turning his home into a war zone. As Eden transforms into Mantra to protect her children, she's horrified to discover the enemy she must face is her own son. Gus, possessed by power and resentment, attacks her with ferocity, trapping her in a mystical prison, and Evie watches in horror, her pleas falling on deaf ears. But when Lauren arrives at the house, she steps in the middle of this, only for Gus to turn his attention to her, declaring disturbingly that they could be together. Eden channels the last of her power through her enchanted cloak, pulling Lauren into the mystical realm. There, Eden reveals the truth. She is Mantra, and begs Lauren to take up the mantle. Despite fear and doubt, Lauren dons the armor and emerges as a new Mantra, determined to stand against the corrupted boy. The battle that follows is devastating. Gus unleashes his full might against Lauren and Eden, his power fueled by pain and loneliness. Eden tries to reach the boy within, but he lashes out, striking her down in a moment of tragic fury. Believing he's killed his mother, Gus reels as Evie screams that she hates him, breaking what's left of his heart. In the chaos, Lauren attacks to protect the girl, but Gus turns on her, snarling that everyone who's ever loved him only hurts him. With cruel finality, he hurls her into the abyss, mocking her as she falls into fire and ruin. The issue closes on a haunting cliffhanger, Lauren's fate uncertain, Eden's spirit flickering on the edge of death, and a child's grief and rage threatening to consume everything. All right, we got a crazy scene there. All sorts of insanity happening. We are definitely wrecking the world of Mantra here, it seems like. I mean, we have decided that there's a new world coming and we need to change things up. So Mantra, who I think at the end of this, she's dead, isn't she? I mean, she's in death's realm or something.
Seemingly. And I did notice one of my notes where she ends up in what she calls the soul walk and seeing all these lives. She says, the soul walk, the last thing through all my lives I see before I die. So I don't know if that's supposed to mean this is Lucas, because there are male figures in some of these, eggs or whatever they are. So I'm not certain that I was right about that. It's just being eaten. Maybe it's still Lucas, but I don't think that was the intention from the last issues that I read. But yeah, they do seem to be getting rid of Eden Blake so they can concentrate on Lauren being the new Mantra for the new Marvel Ultraverse era.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was Eden. If I would assume in the spiritual realm, like you would think that he would be represented by who he thinks he is. Maybe that's not how things, I have no idea. But yeah, you're right. The whole soul walk thing you're talking about, maybe it is Lucas. I don't know. We are walking into a Mantra Infinity issue, and I think you said it before, like these are meant to maybe be bridges between the...
Yeah, like, because in each of these Infinity issues, we see the creation wave or whatever kind of altering things from the old to the new. And we've been pretty critical of the ones we covered last time. I think probably, again, these are not new reader friendly at all.
Right.
Maybe they weren't intended to be. It seems like they should be, considering this is the relaunch of the Marvel era for all these books. But maybe that wasn't even how they were intending it, because they all are just sort of bridging the gap between the old storylines and the new Marvel stuff.
If we're looking at the cover alone and the indicia and whatever it is on the inside, our cover doesn't say anything about Marvel on it. Neither did Prime's, so we can't really use that as evidence to support what we're talking about here. On the inside, I'm looking for the word Marvel in the indica, and I do not see it. So, Indicia, however you say that, at least as far as I could tell, it all says Malibu Comics, published by Malibu. Yeah. So, I don't know. It might be a situation where it's like, okay, we've got to wrap up a story and introduce these new characters, and then these new characters will be what's upcoming. Yeah,
it's kind of a thing where like Marvel was like, hey, we need these new number ones to hit shelves by this time. So, if you guys need to wrap stuff up, use these Infinities issues to do it, and then we'll jump into the new number ones after it.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that one of the things about this being controversial. So our writer here has his name removed. Mike Barr has his name removed from the inside of issue 4, I think is what it was, issue 3 or issue 4. I think you also mentioned that might have been dispelled.
I had seen a lot of, this is going back years when I was first getting back into these Ultraverse comics online. I'd seen a bunch of stuff about how when Marvel started publishing Mantra, they wanted to turn the character into this bad girl thing. They wanted a younger version of the character. That's why it's this blonde babysitter girl instead of keeping Eden Blake as Mantra. Mm-hmm. Mike Barr, according to what I remember reading back then, he was like, maybe not happy about it, but he was willing to do it. The series continued. It became such a gross, bad girl, stereotypical comic with just half-naked women, which we see a lot in this issue too.
Yeah.
He just got sick of it and quit and wanted his name taken off the last issue he wrote. I had posed a question about this in the Ultraverse group I'm in to Tom Mason because he had posted about Black September around the time we were getting ready to record those last episodes. Somebody mentioned in the comments, hey, didn't you write Mantra after this when Mike Barr left? And he said yes. And I asked him if he could shed any light on Mike Barr leaving the book. He basically said he could, but that's not really his story to tell. So he didn't get into it.
All right.
So we don't know exactly what happened, but know that he only did a few issues and then he left the book seemingly unhappy with the way it was going.
Yeah. I can't say that I've ever seen where it listed a writer and then there was nothing there.
Right.
Now, granted, in this day and age, anything can be photoshopped. So even though I might be looking at it online, it might be something that somebody just went over to kind of support their story. But anyway, continuing with my notes here, Gus is going through some big emotions at the beginning of this book. And then by the middle of this book, when the reality wave hits, all of a sudden, evil Gus happens, which what a terrifying little dude. God.
He looks, the possessed version, like he looks... it's
like Sam Raimi, something that come out of Sam Raimi's mind.
He's still got the diminutive body, but his face is kind of distorted, and he's got the green smoking eyes. He's definitely threatening.
This is one of the books that features the creation wave hits and stuff changes. There's going to be more of that, and we talked a little bit about in our last few episodes as well, that this is something where you actually see the creation wave hit, the Nemesis wave, whatever you want to call it, things change immediately after that. Gus being one of those things. I don't know what happened, but some kind of bad entity was able to take possession of him when the Nemesis wave hit. I kept looking at the posters on Gus's wall. We got what I think is Mighty Combat 2. It's the Mortal Kombat 2, Mighty Combat 2. But yeah, in my last two notes here, I mean, this is some Evil Dead type stuff, it feels like, with Gus. And then Eden's dead. Like, I thought Eden's dead? Yeah, I didn't know if Eden was dead or not. She definitely, it seemed like she got shot through the abdomen, and I was like, oh, okay, well, there it is. But then we get those panels after that where she's up and she's kind of walking about, but she starts to realize, like, oh, this has been foretold. This is where I go before I die. So... yeah, they're wrecking Mantra's world. I mean, it's somewhat of a reset here. But that's all my notes. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else. I do like the possessed kid idea. Like, that's a cool, like, villain for Mantra to have to deal with, especially when it's her own kid, when it's still Eden Blake. And then, Lauren is their babysitter or whatever. So it's still a, kid that she's familiar with. So that's an interesting angle. We'll see how it plays out. You're getting some sexual assault right out of the gate.
Yes, dude. I didn't mention that. My gosh.
We're introduced to Lauren in the flashback on the beach talking about how she's got a guy rubbing lotion on her, and in her monologue, she's talking about how she was a big geek. He's saying the same thing, except he thinks she's hot now, but he still doesn't like her, and pulls a prank by pulling her bikini top off, making her run around naked on the beach. And then some other guy just comes behind her and gives her the Janet Jackson and and grabs her chest from behind. And it's just, there's no way this would ever be in a comic now.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in some of those super perverted ones, I can't think the name of them now, but I worked at a comic shop for a while. We would have some customers that would special order some books that would have to on the counter.
Yeah.
So some of this stuff might happen in these
very
days,
independent books.
Not in a Marvel comic.
Right.
But yeah, she's talking about how she's a big nerd and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then she shows up at the babysitting gig. She shows up in short shorts, knee-high socks, leather boots, and a belly shirt. And we're supposed to think, this is the mid-'90s. I was in high school.
Right.
Girls did not dress like that.
Right.
So I don't want to tell girls how they should be dressing. It's just not what I would think of as the big nerds in school.
Right. The only thing that makes her nerdy is she wears glasses. That's
it. Yeah, Mantra is the book that is like the most maligned, I think, of the Ultraverse fans post Black September, based on just this one. I can see it going in that direction. So Dave Roberts, was that the artist's name? Perfectly serviceable. I have no complaints about his art, but it's also not anything spectacular. So
right.
That's pretty much all I got on Mantra.
Okay. We'll pick a panel here real quick. I'll let you go first if you do.
I do. Page 22, panel 5, where Eden Blake is getting blasted through with the green energy bullet.
That is
the Blake.
Legitimately the one I picked. That's all right, though. Let me see here, because there is a couple. Oh, yeah. We'll go with Gus Reveal. Holding his Game Boy, the evil Gus Reveal, I should say, where it's just a full page of him, green energy swirling around him. He looks, diminutive body with the adult-sized face on him.
Yeah, that is a great one-page splash. I did like the thing where Gus is arguing with Eden on being a brat, and then when he gets the powers, he shrinks her down and puts her in a Cracker box. I think it's a Cracker Jack box, probably. She's just hiding out in there until things pop off a little more later.
All right, there you go. That's our thoughts on Mantra, number Infinity.